somebody in CMS can bring this up, but in Atlas, there's a huge effort to see how to incorporate public clouds into the U.S., well, not the U.S., but overall Atlas workflow, either it be in production or analysis or something. But a lot of that will wind up depending on being able to easily bridge the gap between what the experiments do and the public cloud, which is starting to look like it's going to be the server-side S3 plugin for XrootD, because that just works. And that can easily give you the transition between whatever credentials the experiment relies on and whatever credentials the public cloud relies on. You have a bridge there that will actually translate those credentials. Now, that used to be, oddly enough, provided by DPM. It's called a Dynafed, but that's been decommissioned. So that leaves a big hole, and this becomes the only thing you have at the moment that will fill in that hole. So so I can see where we say in the future, and I say server S3 future.
From CMS, I don't know, like I haven't heard anybody trying to use S3, but that's just me.
Okay.
I don't know if somebody else has a different opinion. And maybe we should move on to the next item of the agenda. I mean, we have identified already a bunch of things that are like projects ongoing and things that need development or that will be adopted. But I think the other two topics are also important. Like the second one should be like, unless somebody has like somebody very important to say or a question or the previous topic, like anything technical, we should move to the identification of the lead developer of these in common things that we have between CMS and Atlas for XrootD.
Sure.
So here you, Andy, are you thinking of this, of bringing somebody new to start this, to help with this development, or somebody already?
No, because we get new people all the time. And that's a problem in some sense, because we get somebody new, contributes, and then they fall off the radar, right? So it requires a bit of management to make sure that if somebody's going to fall off the radar, they don't leave a mess behind, right? Because that just means people will have to take care of that mess, whoever's left, and that can become overwhelming. So there's, as in the document, it states there's a core development team, which doesn't spend a huge amount of time developing. They spend a huge amount of time coordinating the people that contribute. And that means like code reviews, looking to see if in fact this contribution really should be accepted or not, and what the long-term impact is of accepting a contribution. So there's quite a bit of overhead that the core team actually does, and over time, the core team relies more and more on external contributors, simply because there's just way too much coordination they have to do, and that doesn't leave much time for development. Which is okay, right? It's okay in the current state of the project, because it's reached the point of stability that most of the stuff that people want is there already, and you just have to do debugging of edge cases, right? If something all of a sudden breaks because somebody is using the software in a new way you didn't anticipate, you have to debug that, right? But in terms of brand new whistles, bells and whistles, there isn't much that people are asking for in that respect, which is a good thing. right? Because that means we've gotten to an area of stability. But that doesn't reduce the amount of effort you have to do or have to expend, right? So in terms of the key developers, I can put the names here. Let's see. Oops. So for instance, I will, let's say Xcash, right? Xcash was actually developed by SDSC/UCSD. It was Frank's idea, frankly, Frank Wertheimer. And he secured a developer, actually two developers, but eventually it all became pretty much Mateusz Toddle's baby, if you will, to shepherd the development and whatever changes are needed in the future. Now, when I say that's the lead developer, what does that mean? That means that's the person you contact first when you have a problem. That doesn't mean it's going to be the person who actually solves the problem. It's just the person that will try to figure out what the next step is. A lot of times Mateusz actually does the development, but sometimes it gets handed off to somebody else.
Yeah, just a quick comment here. We have about 4 minutes left in this particular session.
Oh, that went by quickly. Wow. Okay, so I'll fill in what the other people are that we've identified where you say that it's the primary person. I just want people to understand what primary means here. It's not as clear cut as somebody might think.
So in this case, Mateusz was like a new guy, right? Why do you think Mateusz stick around and other people has fallen?
No.
Difference?
The difference is because it was his idea. I mean, he was the primary developer. Actually, Alia was the primary developer, and then it got taken over by Mateusz. Primary basically means who was there first. That's what it means.
Was he already a developer for XrootD, or he was completely?
No,
So
no, he just came out of the, right. He came out of the clear blue because Frank had an idea of what would be a great addition to the framework, and it wound up being a fantastic addition. So kudos to him. But he was there first. He was a developer. All he needed was support of the other developers in the collaboration to come up with a way of implementing it, right? And so we worked with him to come up with a framework that he could use without us getting involved.
So Andy, I was wondering whether it's possible to talk about how, if somebody wants to contribute, where to start?
Email, right? Or cut a ticket, right? To get somebody's attention in the collaboration. That's all you need to do.
So start with the ideas in the ticket, in the email, whatever.
Yes, and we have a lot of those. And if you take a look at the ticket list, about 90% of those are being benignly ignored. We tag them as, yes, this is a great idea, but you didn't tell me that you were going to do this. You didn't tell us you had labor power. You expected us to do it, and we're not doing that, okay? Because we have too many people thinking we're a software company, and we're not. If you want a contribution, contribute. That's how a public contribution network works. So
so you are saying that generally speaking, you welcome people to contribute, but if they have an idea, you also expect them to actually contribute to that.
Exactly. And we have a lot of people to do that. They come up with an idea and they say, I'm willing to do the work to do that. Is that okay? And we say, perfectly fine. We'll just do the code review. That's all we're going to do.
Andy, there's also the weekly Xcash DevOps meeting. And I know that the attendance is fairly limited in that, but if someone had questions about Xcash or issues or ideas like contributions, is that something that they should try and attend?
Yeah, I mean, we'll put in the minutes. I don't know if the XCash meeting is a public meeting, if you will. You will have to, somebody who manages that meeting, and I don't manage it, will have to decide whether they want to open it up to anybody, right? But it's a very specific XCash oriented meeting. It happens weekly. And I won't put it in the notes until I get the approval of the person who runs that meeting that they want to open it up.
Okay, I think we
Yeah,
have reached
sure.
the time
Anybody-
of this slot.
any-
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
anybody that wants to join the XCash meeting, feel free.
Maybe we can add the link in the Google Doc. Derek, do you have it handy?
Okay, great.
So we have, I think, reached the time limit, and we didn't get to talk about the last item. Maybe, Andy, if you have any ideas on how we can make the development of XrootD more sustainable.
The way to do it is to push your institutions to provide some financial support in the sense of labor power. As opposed to like what is being done today is people just contribute because they have spare cycles. And if we had more institutions that actually said, yes, we're going to devote this much, right, of dedicated power to help this project, that would be a big win. Because that would give people an idea that this is really a stable project, as opposed to one that's sort of like, is there and everybody uses it, but nobody knows how long it's going to be around. Because there's no, other than the 3 institutions that have committed to it, nobody else is saying the same thing. So that would be.
So Andy, should people then be contacting you or adding to the notes if they have a hint of where they might get additional effort?
Well, add certainly to the notes. I mean, contacting me is not going to be particularly helpful.
Okay, we've only got 20 minutes in the next session, so we're probably.
Sure.
I should move on. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for the comments, and we'll keep talking about this. We have the XCash meeting. We can just keep talking about that there.
Okay.
Google Doc is open to everybody, so contribute to that Google Doc.